and today I am going to be covering picking your project management software for success. You can find me on Twitter at SunSandDesign, and I tweet a lot about everything from tech to my homeschooling to just a little bit about everything that I work on. I'm an agency owner and digital marketer by trade, and I own Data Driven Labs. So we are a website development firm. I've been a website developer for 6 years so far, a project manager for 9. I've been using WordPress for 8 years, which makes it look like I'm at the wrong conference, but that's okay because project management software belongs to everybody. I have a 13-year-old son, and we've been homeschooling for the last 5 years, so I have to keep everybody organized, not just work, but also home life. So that's a little bit about me. Friendly reminder to abide by the code of conduct. They told me to put that in there. I just do what I'm told. So we're going to talk about what really is a project manager a little bit first. The one thing I do ask is that if you have any questions, write them down, do them at the end, because most likely I'll answer them. And if I don't, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. So we're going to talk a little bit about characteristics of a project manager and characteristics of your team. You have to be highly adaptable as a project manager. Everything's always changing. You also have to be detail-oriented. One of the biggest things that I run into with the teams that I work with is lack of attention to detail. It's my job to catch it because I am the last point in contact prior to it going to a client. So if for some reason a developer misses something, the QA misses something, I have to catch it. So I have to be at least technical enough to know if there's an issue there. I have to be a delegator. I cannot do everything. It is really hard for me. That's the biggest lesson that I've learned, is taking a step back and saying, okay, this is not for me to do. This is for my developer to do. This is for my designer to do. This is for my QA to do. That's huge, because if you try to do it all, you will fail. Point blank. You have to be a visionary. It is your job to listen to what the client wants and disseminate that to your teams. So you have to be able to take the high view of what they're looking for and be able to actually break that down into actionable items. You have to be highly creative, and you have to be extremely resourceful. Because if you don't have a resource on your team, or your team is being overworked, or you have too many projects on your plate, you need to be able to know how to get more resources in to fill those gaps. So I take a weird approach to project management. I am very unique in the way I handle things. I look at personality types. I truly believe that there is a software system for the personality type of your team. How you run your team, the manager type that you are, and also who your individuals are within that team. One of my big things is I love psychology, so I'm going to break things down a little bit that way. But on top of that, the other thing that I really like to look at is the hiring process and making sure that the personality types mesh well. Because you could have the most amazing developer on your team, but if your personalities clash, you will get nowhere. And it will be futile. So let's talk a little bit about some different personality types we see in the workplace. We see the micromanager. Now this can be a developer, this can be a manager, this can be just about anybody, but they're the ones who look over everyone's shoulder and make sure that no detail is overlooked. They want to make sure that they get frequent updates on what's going on, and they want to stay on top of every little thing turn by turn. The overachiever. Good enough is never good enough. It doesn't matter how much you do. It doesn't matter what you do. It's not going to be good enough, because you could do better and you could put more effort into it. The superhero. They're the ones who are going to take the heat and save the day. And again, all of these personality types could be in any position in the organization. You have the strategist. Perfect for planning and having every step accounted for. They're the ones who are going to see 4 steps ahead. They're going to potentially see what's going on that you didn't see. You have the macro manager. The team can handle the details. As long as the project's moving forward and everyone's on the same page, I don't really need to be involved in the nitty-gritty. The general. Everything is completed in a certain way, my way, on a certain timeline, my timeline, and in a certain manner, my manner. Those are kind of tough to work with, but there's ways to work with them, and there's project management systems that help you work with them better. And the mentor. I'm going to give you guidance. I'm going to give you advice. I'm going to show you the way. I'm going to, hey, let me Google that for you. But I'm not going to exactly tell you how to do it. The other thing that we have to look at is the different types of workflows. One of the things is every type of workflow has a different need when it comes to how you're going to pick your project management software. You're not going to use the same project management software for Agile as you would for waterfall. So Agile, for those who aren't aware, is rapid continuous delivery of a product to a customer. Constant iterations, constantly changing. Scrum is typically done in like a 30-day sprint. You have monthly Scrum sessions. You have project deliverables broken down into intervals, and everything is managed by a Scrum Master as opposed to, say, like a project or product manager. Waterfall is most common when you see website builds. So you're going to have your specs, your design, then your build process, then you're going to do all your integration, then you're going to do all your testing, then you're going to do all your installation, and then you're going to offer some kind of maintenance package. So that's typically what you might see in an agency. Some agencies prefer the Agile method if they have larger enterprise level clients, but waterfall is pretty common. Kanban is a highly visual based workflow where everything is based on lists, not necessarily, not based on lists, more workflow based. So if you're looking at, this is what we need to do next week, this is what we need to do this week, this is what was done last week, and this is what was done prior. So you can kind of see everything in a layout. And then the last one is one that I don't talk about too much. It's RAD, it's Rapid Applications Development. This is mostly used when you're talking about like SaaS products, physical products. It is fast cycles of prototyping and developing of those products. So this is like Spitfire, which is why I don't go into it too much, because unless you're in like a product-based world, you're not gonna experience that much. So actual software. What we all really came to see. The rest of the stuff was just, because we had to cover it. Here's what to look for. You want to check out the personality type of your team, first and foremost. Kind of nail down who on your team is what personality type. Then you want to identify your workflow type. Now, you could change your workflow type if you wanted to, but identifying what you're currently using. Pricing. Identifying the pricing type, because what you'll see is some are free, some are monthly, some are per user, some are flat rate. So you want to identify what works best for your organization. Ease of use. I have so many friends that have told me that they hate logging into their project management system because it's clunky. So when you're looking at your team and you're looking at their personality types, you also want to consider their technical expertise to figure out what's going to work for them as far as how the software actually functions. You also want to look at the levels of support. Some of the software that we talk about doesn't have any support offered. You're basically on your own. You could hire someone who knows it to come in and set everything up, but what happens if they change a feature? So you want to kind of look at the different support levels based on your needs as well. And then also the features that are needed. Integrations that comes with, for instance, I use Harvest Time Tracker. So I want to make sure whatever project management software I'm using has some sort of integration for Harvest. And if it doesn't, I want to write one. So I need to make sure that it's expandable to have that written. And also your client needs. I've talked to a lot of agencies. I've helped a lot of agencies develop their processes and come in and kind of clean up their project management techniques. And one of the things that they tend to forget about is client access. What do they want their client to see? So make sure you outline all of these things before you start shopping. So these are the most used project management systems on the market today. We're going to go through a whole bunch of them, but of these, I don't have Jira on here. I've never used Jira. I've never touched it. So I don't have the ability to offer a whole bunch of detail about it. So that's usually the first question at the end is, what do you know about Jira? Nothing. So at least I'm upfront and honest about that. So we're going to start at the beginning. We've got Reich. I've got screenshots as best as I can on one side for you. Reich is great for a general. They want to see everything. They want to set up the project management flow their way. They want everyone to live in their world. Like I said, there is a place for that, and it makes it great because then the team doesn't feel like the general is watching. It allows everyone to work well together. This only works with Agile or Waterfall. They do not have any type of like Scrum Master type integration or ability currently. Right now, everything is a per user plan pricing, so it gets very expensive very fast. If you have more than about 5 or 6 people on the team, you can expect to be shelling out hundreds of dollars every month. But it is very robust. So it really just comes down to your price point. Ease of use is 3-star. Their setup process is ridiculous. But once you get it set up, you're good to go. So just know there's going to be definitely a migration expense. Their support is actually pretty good. I've moved 3 clients to Reich. That was the right plan for them. And in doing all of that, anytime we ran into any bumps in the road or anything like that, I emailed support, had an answer the next day, and everything was good to go. So again, keeping support in mind. There's lots of features. So one of the things that I love about Reich is they have highly interactive Gantt charts. If you're familiar with how Gantt charts work, it's basically a timeline. And one of the things I like about Reich is that you do dependencies of your tasks based on not just the start of tasks or the end of tasks, but you can have them in the middle as well. So you're able to do multiple dependency structures, which gives you full flexibility when you're building out your waterfall approach, because you might be halfway through the design process and want to start something else with the client and discussing content halfway through the design process, so you can actually build that into your Reich flow. They do resource charts as well. So if you're tracking your time straight into Reich, which you can also set up with Harvest, then you're able to see all of your team's resources. So you can say, okay, well, we've got 80 hours for this project booked, but I only have 5 hours a day for my team, so I need to bring on extra resources. And so you're able to actually plan your staff's time out a lot better and a lot more visual. They actually do form requests, so you can have clients send support forms straight into Reich, so it can actually clean up your support as well. They also allow for live file editing, so your team can work together on Word and Excel docs and things like that right inside of Reich. So multiple people, just like you would with Google Docs, it literally looks the same, but it saves it all into Reich, so it's attached to the project. Time and budget tracking, full calendars, so you can actually separate meetings from, like due dates and stuff like that, but it all ends up on the calendar and syncs to Google Calendar and iCal. And they also allow for proofing and approvals with your clients. So you get that document created of all the content, you can then ship it to the client and have an approval workflow so that the client has to approve it, and then you have that green seal of approval on it. Email sync straight into the program, as well as mobile app options, and you can also build custom fields. So like all of these are tasks and all of the information is in here, but you can add custom fields. So if you wanted to say instead of just the assignee, you could actually create a custom field to attach not just the person doing the work, but the person overseeing the work. So you can it's literally fully customizable. And you can create status and workflows. So like this is a status, but you can have that trigger workflows. So if you change it to in process, then it lets your project manager know that, hey, they've started this. It's extremely flexible, but takes tons of time to set up because you're building all of those workflows out. Also integrates, like I said, with Google, Microsoft, and Slack, which is huge. And it allows for unlimited free collaborators. So that's where your clients come in. So all of your clients can be added for free for that approval workflow without having to pay any per user pricing for them. Podio. Podio is for the micromanager. This is for waterfall or Kanban boards. The one thing I like about Podio is I can make my to-do list. I'm a to-do list person as a project manager. And then I can set up my developer who likes Kanban boards, a view for him in Kanban style. So when he logs in, all he sees is Kanban boards. So we're both happy because I hate Kanban boards. Like with a passion. This is also per user, but they have plan levels. So it's not just a flat rate, $10 per user per month or whatever. It's like the base plan is such and such dollar per user per month, and the next plan is, so you have to look at the features you need in order to see what your per person pricing is going to be. Ease of use is 4 stars. It's pretty easy to use. And it has a bunch of templates. It has a template library. So if you don't really know where to start and you're trying to find an existing workflow that worked for someone else, they have that. Their support is actually really strong, so that's good. And then they also have a lot of extensions. Some are free, some are paid. You could quickly build your Podio out to be a pretty expensive integration, but some of the base integrations are like Google, Microsoft Box, Dropbox, Zapier. So you can do a lot with it. Those are all free, but they do have some pretty robust integrations that do cost money. The other thing is calendars are big for me because I do a lot of client meetings. So one thing I do like is you can integrate calendars for meetings with this software as well. And then you can also customize reports and templates. So you can customize reports for your clients where they'll automatically go out. So like if you want your client to have an update every Friday of where you're at on a project, you can actually have that report customized, ready to go, and it'll automatically send out every Friday of what's been accomplished. Now, that being said, you have to put something into a status update of some sort. You can't automate everything, but automation is huge. And this also allows for unlimited free collaborators. So again, your clients are going to be free. Okay, teamwork projects. This was my favorite, my absolute favorite. I moved so many people to teamwork projects until they changed their pricing structure. So this is going to be for your micromanager and your strategist. You can see way out into the future. Waterfall or Kanban, they don't work real well with Agile as far as like recurring tasks, things of that nature. They do have recurring tasks, but it just, as far as working with Agile or Scrum, it's not as great. Everything is now per user. They were flat fee. Like you paid a flat fee, you got unlimited projects, and you basically paid a flat fee for your features. Now they've moved to per user and plan, so it increased the pricing, but it's easy to use. It's probably one of the easiest ones to use. Their workflows are good. Their support has always been amazing. They extended everything when they did their plan change. They sent out the email that was like, hey, starting next month. And I was like, hey, that's not okay. And they said, okay, you have 2 extra months. And I'm like, okay, now we're talking. So, as far as like being willing to work with you, they're great. And they're also great when they have a bug or you want a new feature, because they'll put it on a feature list, and their feature list is actually viewable. So like if you go to their website, you can see their upcoming features. The features on this are endless. Like even links to your CRM. They link to like 12 different CRMs. So as far as pulling all your client data into the project management system so that you can see it, so your project manager doesn't have to be like, hey, sales guy, what's the phone number to reach this client? It's all right there. in one place. They do have Kanban views now. They didn't before, but they do now. And this task view, they've got task, subtask, sub-subtask. They go like 4 or 5 deep, which is, I've never used anything that deep in subtasks, but it's nice to know that it's there. They have pre-built project templates, so you can build out your full project and who's going to be assigned to it. So, for instance, in some of these softwares, it's, I want to assign Sandy to do that task every time. With Teamwork, I want to assign developer. And then when you go to spin that project up and you apply that template, it pops up and it says, which user is your developer for this project? Which user is your QA for this project? Which user is, so it takes out the time of having to reassign tasks to someone, which is huge when you're doing tons of large projects. It also allows for dependencies. You can do task dependencies from the start or the end of a task attached to the start or the end of that second task. So if you wanted them to end at the same time, you could line them up that way, or you could line end to start or start to start. And like I said, it holds all your CRM stuff. So like this is like your project list and then your tasks and all your assignees. But you can tag everything, lots of tags. It integrates with Google. Yeah, it has a few integrations. Google, like very few, like next to none. But it does allow for unlimited free contributors, or collaborators. So you, once again, we're back at thinking about what's best for your clients. What do they need to see? You can have private tasks. So if you have a collaborator in here, your client is in the system, and you're like, okay, I don't want them to see these 5 tasks. You make them private, and only your employees that you're paying for can see those tasks, which is really awesome.
They also have a fantastic API and support for webhooks.
Yes, they do. And now with that API and webhooks, you can send your support tickets straight in. So you can create your entire support queue off of it as well. FreeCamp, haven't actually moved anybody to it. I've only played with it because I like giving project management talks and it's fun. I would suggest a strategist for this one, someone that wants to see into the future. This again is waterfall and Kanban. You'll notice that that's for a lot of these because that's what the bulk of people use for workflows. This is also per user pricing. It's fairly easy to use. It's got good support. I emailed them asking for an account to use for like 15 days so that I could add them into my talks because I've been giving this talk for a couple years. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm like, nice. They have a lot of features in their paid plans, but their free plan it's for freelancers, let's be honest. There's no external integrations at all. They're a task board system. So like, this is what's due today, and there's my tasks, and here's any updates, and here's my project list, and literally it never changes. Like that is what it is. The project boards, everything is board based. So not like Kanban board based, but just task lists in chunks. It is visual, but it's lots of widgets. So it's a lot of manipulating your views and figuring out what's going to work for your team. But it allows for unlimited free viewers, but they can't do anything. So like if you want to assign something for your client to do, like write content, in Reich and in Teamwork projects, you can assign it to them as a collaborator because they're collaborating on the project, and they can check it off, they can leave comments, they can interact. This is just a viewer, so they can't interact. But if you want your client just to kind of see what the team is doing, this could work. Has anyone used Basecamp? Okay, good. I was saying I'm starting to get into some familiar territory for some people. We used Basecamp last year to plan WordCamp US. I like it. I used to use it in another agency I was at. This is definitely the macro manager mentor type system. You can use this for waterfall or remote Scrum because it has a Scrum feature built in. It's got an all-in-one price. Like, you pay one fee every year, you're good to go, which honestly is glorious and makes me always go back and go, why am I paying for something else? But it's not as easy to use. It's, I give it 3 stars because it has a lot of moving pieces and parts. So like all of your tasks are in one area, and your schedule's in another, and your messages are in another, and your docs are in another, and then this is the Scrum thing I was talking about, it's automated check-ins. So like you set up the questions that go out to your team whenever you want them to go. So if you wanted to have an automated Scrum meeting on Monday, it automatically will do that. And then the campfire, this is like Slack. Just everybody chats. And you can do it project specific, like this is inside of a singular project. So this is like the project dashboard. Their support's really good. Don't have a problem with their support. But their features are pretty standard. They have to-do lists, a schedule, the message board, the chat, check-ins, docs and files, like literally, that's it. There is a harvest integration. That is something that's in your like Google Chrome bar. It's a Google Chrome extension, not actually an integration to this. So there's actually no physical external integrations currently, but like you can get Chrome extensions to put stuff into. But it does allow for unlimited users. Clients, internal, doesn't matter because you're paying that all in one price, which is nice. Asana. Has anybody used Asana? Yeah? Okay. It's an interesting one because they keep adding more features. So like every time I give this talk, I have to go back and be like, is this still true? It's for the mentor, the overachiever. It's for the person that wants to, really like hone into making sure that everything's getting done. They do have Kanban boards now, which is an amazing upgrade for those that love Kanban, not me. Per user or free. So it used to be, bless you, it used to be that it was amazing, their free version. But now that they keep adding features, they keep sucking from the free version and adding it to the paid version every time they release a new feature set. Which is fine, because if you're freelancing or you're working on a community project or anything like that, free is always awesome. But the ease of use is 5 stars. Like hands down, this is the easiest one to utilize. So if you're worried about setup and all of that, this is it. Their support's pretty good. Standard features are free, so that's good. They do have a harvest integration, and every couple of weeks they come out with new integrations now. So, it's just one of those things where you constantly have to watch that. And they allow for unlimited users. With the add-ons and with paying for all the paid stuff, aside from the to-do lists and the calendars, you also get Gantt charts, which is good. You can do dependencies, you can do subtasks, you can actually create checklists. So like for your QA team, you can have a task of QA the site, and then you can create whatever your checklist is for QA. And then they also have add-ons to the Kanban boards, so like you can do a Kanban card with checklists in the card. You can also fully tag it. So like all these colors are tags that you add. So you can do tags based on workflow cycles. You can do tags based on just about anything that makes sense for your organization, and subtasks, which is good. They added a messaging system that works kind of like Slack, but I prefer Slack. I compare everything to Slack, which is probably dangerous because I love Slack. Projectmanager.com. I don't talk about this one too often or for too very long. It's really for the micromanager. It is basically a Gantt chart setup, definitely for the waterfall, per user pricing, 4 stars. It's not hard to set up. It's not hard to use. It's just going to give you that like detailed view that you need, but it's all Gantt charts. Their support is not great. They have fair support at best. Once you start managing multiple projects, it gets quite pricey quite fast. And like this is what you get. So you can see timelines. But there are some people that just want to see the timelines. So it does integrate with Zapier, Google, and Microsoft. And you pay by the user. I said you pay by the user, but that's the downfall with that one. To-do lists. It does have to-do lists. Like if I clicked into this, I can have a to-do list for this item. But it's not really, aside from that, it's calendars and Gantt charts. So, who knows of Trello? Yeah. You can imagine how much I love Trello with the fact that I don't like Kanban boards. Trello is Kanban boards. Okay, so this is a Kanban board for people who haven't seen it. Trello has its place. We are using Trello for WordCamp US this year. And it's a good piece of software, and it's ever expandable, which is great. This is definitely for your mentor or your macro manager. You don't have, when you just log into here, there's no details. There's very few details, other than seeing dates and colors. Definitely would not be a micromanager's friend. Workflow, 100% Kanban. Like, if you are using Kanban in your Agile workflow or in your Scrum workflow, that's cool, but it's the only view you're going to get. It's free out of the box. Most features are free. The only time you're going to pay is if you want extra boards within an organization, or if you want like to add more than one power-up. That's what they call them. Integrations. Super easy to use. You just drag and drop the cards from place to place. If you click on it, you can edit whatever you need to edit. So, but it's free, so support is limited. And you're going to find that with any free product for the most part. And that's fine. Like, we expect that going into freebies. Features are all based on extensions and power-ups. So when you're looking at, what you want it to do, you might have to add some extensions. Now, if anybody wants to see them afterwards, I have a Trello board with like 18 extensions on them that I use for calendars and managing Gantt charts and labels. Like this label here is out of the box, but I have something that totally adjusts the labels. I also have something that attaches Scrum points to the top of the cards, so I'm not a Scrum master by any stretch of the imagination, but I do work with an organization that has one, so I found an extension for that. So it's one of those things where you can make it fit your needs if free is what you're looking for. They have a few integrations outside of Chrome extensions. Like I said, those are called power-ups. But the thing about the power-ups is unless you're paying for it, you're limited to like one. So you have to pick the one very wisely. But it's extremely visual. Everything can have task lists. All these little cards can have task lists if you need them. And there is probably like 100 extensions in the Chrome extension directory for Trello. So there's even a harvest one. So like you can totally add integrations that way. It's just make sure Chrome bar look massive. But if you do upgrade, you're paying by the user. So you can upgrade the organization and then pay by the user. Anybody familiar with Monday other than Facebook ads? Okay. Monday is running huge Facebook ad campaigns right now. I see them, well, okay, maybe it's because I'm a project manager, but I see them all the time. This is definitely for the high-level macro manager. There isn't task lists or anything like that. This is literally just resource-based. It's all about agile workflow. It's got per-user pricing. It's 4 stars. Not hard to use, but isn't the easiest. Their support is actually pretty good, and you can get them on Facebook Messenger, which is even better. It's a basic timeline system, but it does integrate with Slack, Google, Asana, Trello, Microsoft, so you can use this to timeline your projects and then integrate with other softwares. It is a paid option, but since it's just a blocking tool, their pricing isn't ridiculous, but it is going to give you the 10-foot overview. So like I can see, okay, project 1, the brainstorming is done, the execution is done, the launch is done. So project 1, we got that out of the way. But project 2, we're working on it and we're stuck executing project 3. So we need to figure out where that roadblock is coming from and work on that. So it is definitely that 10-foot high-level overview. Anybody familiar with Zoho? Okay. So Zoho Projects is what we use now within our agency, partly because we have the entire Zoho suite, so it makes sense. Does it make sense to pay for additional products when I have something included in what I'm paying for free? It's definitely for the micromanager, which if you haven't figured out yet, that's me. But it's also for the waterfall. The one thing that I do like is all their stuff is flat rate for the most part. Most Zoho products are flat rate, so I don't have to worry about paying. I'm paying for features, I'm not paying for people. So no matter how big my team gets, I'm good to go. Ease of use is a 4-star. It would be a 5-star, except that I can't create where, like in teamwork, where I could say this is a developer that's going to do this task. So I have to manually go in whenever I launch a new project and check off little checkboxes here and then hit a mass assign because they haven't developed that feature yet. So that's the one thing I lost moving from teamwork to this. Otherwise, it's almost the same. They have amazing support. Which is better than I've had in any other of the softwares that I've worked with. But it is very feature rich. I have Kanban boards, I have waterfall reports, I have resource charts, I have basically everything, which is nice for me because I have so many different teammates doing so many different things in so many different divisions, because we have 4 different divisions of our organization, and I manage all of them. So for me, I have to have that level of knowing what's going on, but it's all in nice report format, and I have dashboards, whereas these other ones didn't. None of the other ones I've talked about have actual like operating officer dashboards. So that is one of the things that I love. It does allow for unlimited users because you're paying a flat rate. It has built-in time tracking. It has subtasks. It has task dependencies, and I can make them dependent based on the end and the beginning, or the beginning, the end, and the middle as well, just like teamwork. It syncs completely with Google, so I can pull my team's calendar directly in so I know when people are on vacation or out, which is good. And it shows me, like if I go in to actually assign this task to someone and I click on the date, because I've assigned it to them, and I click on the date, it shows me red or green if I can assign the task starting on that date based on their availability. So like if I know they're going to be doing 4 hours a day for 5 days, and one of those days they don't have that available, it won't let me start it on that one start date. It won't give it to me until I have the actual time available for them to start the project, which is great when I'm in the sales process because I can go in, see all my resources, and say, no, we can't start that project for 3 weeks. It's gamified. This is the only one that's gamified. So like when you check your check marks off and you finish your tasks, it's like, hey, you just earned 10 points, whatever you name your points to be. Stupid, but I have one person on my team that appreciates it, so I keep it on. You can turn it off. Fully integrates with multiple CRMs, not just theirs. File storage. They have recurring tasks, which is great. And it also fully integrates with their books software, Xero and QuickBooks. So you can actually bill out from here, which is also unique. A lot of them don't have that. It also fully connects to their desk system as well as Freshdesk, and there's like and Zendesk. So you can actually have someone in support talking to people and then creating tasks over here for the developers. So you don't have to have your developers in 2 places. So as far as like the robustness, this is definitely more robust. And why I'm okay losing a couple of features moving to it, because I gained so many more. So yeah, that is me rambling for a decent amount of time about project management system. Hopefully I didn't bore anybody because I just love this stuff. Are there any questions at all about any of this? Yes?
Do any of those have a way to set up permissions for users? So let's say you're running multiple projects. So can you set it up for multiple projects and have people view some projects and not?
Yes, every single one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. There's not a single one that doesn't have where you can control what users see what projects. And even to the point that you can have them view, I know on Teamwork and on Zoho, you can have them view certain tasks. So like on Zoho, it's called internal and external tasks. So I can create a list inside that project that is internal only, or I can create individual tasks that are internal only. Because there are times when I don't want the client to know that I found a bug on their website until I fixed it. So I'm gonna have the team go fix it, and I'm gonna say, hey, we found this bug, don't worry, we got you, it's done, it's fixed, we've got your back. So yeah, they do have internal and external tasks for most of them. But yeah, you can control all of that with user views, which is really nice. Maddie?
Have you evaluated any open source tools, project management systems?
I haven't. I probably should, since I live in the open source community. You want to talk later about some that are out there? Because I don't even know which ones are open source that are out there.
I only know a few from years ago, but...
Because I'd love to look into some of that, because I might have something I could contribute to, too.
Can you mention which? Because I'll be interested in looking at those too. Can you mention a few that are open source that you know from a few years past?
I remember Redmine was a good one, but they forked into something else. I'd have to Google now.
I know there's one project in the WordPress world where they turn your agency website into a project management system. Like there's a plugin for it or whatever, but I've never played with it. And I heard some people that had didn't really like it that much, or it just convoluted their back end of their website, and they felt like they needed a separate instance for it. So
Open Project used to be Redmine. It's Rails based. Fabricator is a pretty big one. GitLab is on this list.
Yeah, we use GitLab, and we've been fairly happy with it. We were paying a ton of money to GitHub, especially since they had changed their pricing model with Microsoft.
Odoo, O-D-O-O, is more than a project management software. It's fully integrated business application suite.
that sounds fancy.
Taiga, T-A-I-G-A, that's one I've seen before. I don't know.
Okay, well, I wrote those down, so I'm going to go digging and see what I can come up with. It might be kind of fun to have an open source section of
The
this talk.
Drupal redhead module.
Can you send me that link? I'll just send her that link.
I just Googled open source project management.
Oh.
So if you wanted to see these slides later, because this is a lot of information, this is a link to them as a PDF. And yes, I know this is like WPL, which was from a WordPress talk I gave, but I didn't download the slides and put it back on my website again. I didn't see the point of that. But yeah, you can download them all as is. Any other questions, thoughts? General project management conversation? You good? I was supposed to mention Contributor Day, which is Sunday, from 1:15 to 5. Make sure that I always follow the rules, right? I'm gonna be out in the entry area, the lobby area. So if anybody wants to see any of these in action, I still have most of my accounts open. So I'm more than happy to kind of show you what I've done with them, or if you have specific questions, I'm happy to sit down with you guys. So just let me know. And thanks for letting me be here.